Bom dia a todos. É um grande prazer estar com vocês aqui hoje no primeiro evento internacional da comemoração de 2 anos do Connectory. O que é interessante aqui é que vocês vão poder ter um contato bem interessante com o pessoal internacional. Eu espero que gostem. E tudo que seja legal para vocês aí. E agora eu vou passando em inglês, né? I would like to also to thank you everybody, the foreign participants. To start up, I would like to present Stefan Rook, responsible for the Connectory Stuttgart, that will be our facilitator today. Stefan, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our virtual AIoT global event as part of the Curitiba Connectory anniversary. Before we get started, we prepared a short Menti survey that you can hopefully see here on the screen. And we would appreciate if you can tell us about your role. So that would mean you'd go to www.menti.com and use the code 20423557, and then you can select the appropriate role. Great, we have already one founder listening to our live stream here. Great, we see good diversity here. Corporate associates and founders are in the lead so far. So everybody joining a little bit later, welcome to the AIoT Global event as part of the Curitiba anniversary session. Please tell us what role you are. So that is really interesting for us to see who is joining today and who is listening to really interesting keynotes that we're going to have. Okay, I guess we have 20 people already. Let's wait for another 30 seconds and then we can get started, because we have a really packed and exciting agenda today. Really interesting insights from the corporate world and also the startup world on the topic of AIoT. That's great to see that we really have a diverse audience today, from students to corporate associates, academics, consultants, founders. That's really nice to see. All right, I guess we get started. I will quickly share my screen. All right, so let's get started with some organizational topics first. We will record this event and it will be available on YouTube afterwards. Most of you are already in YouTube, so you can see that. Therefore, you will not be able to use your microphone to ask questions. However, we encourage you to ask questions also during the keynotes and via, for example, via the chat or the comment function. And we will have time for 1 or 2 questions after each talk. And the remaining questions and for a more open discussion, we will also have time in the end of the event. And I will bring up these questions for you. So yeah, just leave them in the comment field and I will take care bringing them up for you. Again, welcome to the Curitiba Connectory anniversary. On AIoT, today we would like to give you an understanding of the global impact in business. And we will learn from corporate use cases but also what role startups could play in this field. And we have a great set of speakers today with us. And please welcome with me Dr. Dirk Slama, Vice President of Co-Innovation and IT and IoT Alliances at Bosch, Marcos Buson, Managing Partner and founder of Heart, and Dr. Michael Weniger, Lead Data Scientist at DHL, Post and Parcel. My name is Steffen. I'm from Bosch. I'm driving the outside innovation activities at the Stuttgart Connectory. And I'm very happy to co-host and moderate the event today. Let's have a look at the agenda. Actually, as you can see, my colleague Fabienne Hieber, who would have done the introduction of AIoT at Bosch, is not available today due to family reasons. Therefore, I will try my best to give you a quick overview in the beginning before I then hand over to Michael, who will then introduce you to an exciting AIoT use case at DHL. Dirk will follow with a talk about the AIoT user group, which is a global community of practitioners dedicated to driving the exchange on AIoT. It's a global community, but potentially also getting a foothold in Latin America soon. And Marcos will then provide the startup perspective from his hardware and software accelerator. And we will close with a Q&As and feedback session. And as a reminder, if you have questions during the keynotes, please put them in the comment functions in YouTube. And I will bring one or two questions up after the keynote directly, and we will take the remaining questions for the Q&A session in the end. Well, let's get started with AIoT at Bosch. We as Bosch are still in the middle of one of the biggest transformation in our company's history. From a traditional hardware manufacturer to a high-tech AIoT company. And to better understand why Bosch focuses on the topic of AIoT, so specifically AI and data business, we need to look at the history of Bosch. And the history of Bosch is characterized by innovation, development, and manufacturing of things with high quality. And Bosch can rely on technical expertise to develop these physical products, these things, thanks to the decades of experience of engineers. Now our approach at Bosch is to combine these strengths with the new possibilities of artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things, which brings connectivity. And Bosch wants to become a world-leading AIoT company because we believe there's huge potential to improve the lives of people. So Bosch started already working on connectivity of products back in 2013. And today, I think more than 91% of these products are already connectivity enabled. And in total, Bosch has sold around 10 million connectivity enabled power tools, household appliances, heating systems, and so on. And these products generate data in the course of their development, but also manufacturing and use. And in 2017, Bosch founded the Competence Center for Artificial Intelligence, which has already carried out more than 185 AI projects at Bosch. And these experts are located at various locations around the world, and AI experts then have the chance to work closely with the domain experts at Bosch to really bring these AIoT benefits to life. And last year, the term AIoT was introduced, aiming really to use basically IoT and AI to merge the physical world with the digital world and creating greater value for our users based on this data and AI. And basically, creating products and services that are invented for life. Now let's have a look at the AIoT cycle and how this is different from traditional value creation. And you might ask yourself, what's really different about AIoT? Because hasn't the user always been in the center of the attention? And we will see like a paradigm shift in this value creation, because we want to make our product smarter, but above all, incorporate also the user perspective more strongly into this value creation. Because traditional value creation that you can see here is where Bosch is based on the manufacturing and the supply of high quality products. But of course, this is very time consuming, as there's need to wait for the sales figures, you need to conduct market research and wait for the customer feedback to really understand if the offer provides value. And now with AIoT, it opens up completely new possibilities of closing this value creation cycle with the help of data and AI, and thereby creating this automated feedback loop, because networked Bosch products generate data that we can analyze, and this way then information and generated knowledge can be used to update our products or software products or hardware products, and essentially putting users more at the center. But enough of the theory. Let's have a look at a concrete example on how to really make use of AI and how to really launch AIoT products. And I will put the AIoT cycle in practice with the example of the Bosch Smart Oven. And the example starts here at the top right with the product. So everybody probably has an oven, and the customer selects the desired recipe from this automated program and places the dish in the oven, right? So far, so easy. As it is a smart oven, it is connected to the Bosch cloud. And this oven, as well as many other ovens, send their sensor data, such as temperature, humidity, and also the setting values, continuously and anonymously to the Bosch server. So what do you think happens to the data, and how is the value actually created? Well, the AI cloud analyzes all the available data, predicts the remaining cooking time to the desired result, and the networked oven then learns from a growing amount of anonymized data of numerous baking and roasting processes and improves, let's say, the result. And of course, then the benefit is at hand. The more frequently these households use these smart ovens, the better they learn customer preferences and the more precisely dishes reach their optimum cooking point. And with a function like this, probably even I will be able to reach like the optimum point, because when baking, my wife always sets the alarm like 10 minutes before the actual baking time ends, and then it pierces the cake to check whether it's ready. So in the end, with a smart oven, the knowledge of my wife and the feeling for the baking time is then in the algorithm, and thus then is passed on to all other households that are out there. And of course, internal AI experts from our competence center worked on the development. However, also external partners, for example, Fraunhofer and others, were also on board in the development of these models. And just recently, I spoke to one product owner of this AIoT product, and he stated that he's also willing to explore other partnerships, and partnerships maybe also with startups, to further improve and enhance this or also similar products. So before I hand over to Michael, I would like to bring up the opportunity for you. If you have concrete ideas, no matter if you are a startup or an established company or a scientist, please feel free to contact us and send us your innovation proposal going to the website innovate-bosch.com. And yeah, reach out to us and tell us about how you would like to improve Bosch products and processes. And of course, there are many more examples at Bosch. It's not just about smart ovens, of course. There's also many more products and also processes and factories in which we apply AI in connected processes or products. And yeah, happy to hear from you, and just use innovate-bosch.com. So, and now I would like to pass on the presentation to Michael from DHL, because he also prepared a very nice use case from his world at DHL and how he's generating value from AIoT. So great to have you, Michael, and over to you. Oh, 1 second, I forgot. If there's already questions, I need to check the chat since I'm the moderator and the presenter at the same time. I will try to pick up a question here. So at first glance, I don't see any immediate questions here. So then I would say, yeah, I will pass on to Michael directly, and then we can also take my questions, if there are any, together with Michael's question after his presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Stefan. Before we dive into the use case that we are working on right now at DPDHL, let me say a few words about our company. I hope many of you already know the company, especially the brand DHL, which is a large logistics company operating worldwide in about 220 countries, I think. The use case we are working on right now is located in the business division Post and Parcel Germany, which consists of the two brands Deutsche Post, the traditional mail provider in Germany, and the DHL brand, which is mainly focused on delivering parcels. We have around 150,000 employees in Germany, delivering round about 10 million parcels a day in the peak season, which is always close to the end of the year when Christmas approaches, or when Amazon decides to hold one of their sale days. And we have about 80 mail hubs and 36 parcel hubs. These numbers will play a role in the following slides. So what we try to do is we want to use the advancements in visual AI, which means an algorithmic basic understanding, an algorithmic basic to achieve automatic visual understanding. And the reason why we're so interested in this specific field of AI is that in the recent years, the technology has advanced very rapidly since the introduction of deep learning into the mix of technologies used to tackle the visual AI problem. That during the last 5 to 6 years, algorithms have actually surpassed the human experts in deciding some of the aspects of visual understanding. Not all of them, but things like classification, object detection are now very much solved on an algorithmic basis. And we want to basically build upon these technological advances and look at possibilities to create value in our large logistic network. And the way we want to do that is to satisfy a business demand to fully automate the detection or sortation of small parcels. That doesn't actually sound at the first glance like a problem where you need visual AI, because of course in all of our large parcel sorting centers, the parcels are measured, the weight is taken. So we have measurements to decide whether or not a parcel is small. But we have problems for this really small parcels that are too small to basically survive the complete sorting process on their own. So they are put inside these plastic transport trays. And once they're inside of them, we can't measure them anymore. Our measurement technique just doesn't work. Furthermore, we want to know what kind of shipment we are dealing with. Is it a bag? Is it a kind of a sturdy parcel, or is it kind of an envelope? And we want to know that because the idea that our management has is that the volume that we have in parcels each day is rapidly growing, while the volume we have in mail is declining. So there is additional capacity in the mail network, whereas the parcel network is almost operating at full capacity. So there's not much room for error. Or if something like last year happens, where the Corona lockdown suddenly peaked the number of shipments that arrived each day, then our parcel network has actually a danger of collapsing. If there's too much parcel and you have congestion in the parcel sorting center, then nothing moves anymore, and the logistics network is basically founded on the idea that everything moves through it as efficiently as possible. So the idea is basically you have two possible solutions. Either you build more capacity in a parcel network, which is not so easy, especially not in a time frame of a few months. You need years for that to build new parcel sorting centers. Or to use the free capacity in the mail network. In order to do that, you need to know the exact type of shipment, the exact measurements of shipment, because our mail network has very different sorting machines. Sometimes the mail is carried out by bike and not by car, so you have to have really small and lightweight parcels. And in order to know all these attributes of the parcels, we want to use visual AI. So here's basically what I just said. The parcel share of total volume in our business unit is growing at a rapid speed, especially since last year. This is even before the Corona peak, and it will be even more drastic if you look at the data from the past 12 months. So the idea is the parcels arrive from our business customer in our parcel sorting centers, and usually each parcel is sorted twice. First, when we pick it up from the business customer, and then when we decide the rough area in Germany where it should go, that it's transported to the destination parcel sorting center, and there it's distributed to the fine scale delivery system. And the idea is to basically decide on the first contact of the parcel whether or not it fits in the mail network, and then reroute it so that it takes all the sorting steps and delivery steps in the end in the mail network. So we have if we achieve this goal, then we can use all the 80 mail hubs in addition to the 36 parcel hubs to at least dampen the peaks that threaten our parcel network to collapse in the peak season. And in order for us to do that successfully, we have to have very high accuracy for our visual AI algorithms, because every mistake we make is not only a parcel that can't be delivered in the mail network, but also a parcel that will be returned from the mail network to the parcel network, and then thus creates additional transportation steps, additional sorting steps, so that actually every error will hurt us 2 or 3 times as much as every correct identification of parcel will help us. So we actually have right now a prototype running in one of the parcel sorting centers, and we have seen that the correct recognition rate is above 99%, which was the basic threshold that we need to achieve. What we've also seen is that the measurement error satisfies all the business demands, but actually, so the original idea was we want to measure the small parcels in the plastic trays, which we can't do right now. What we've seen since we have tested in the first pilot center is that we actually are better at measuring the parcels, even if they are not in the plastic tray. So basically for all parcels, when we use images instead of the original measurement system. So right now the idea is to just measure everything based on images. Then we have the measurement in one image. We also have the type of parcel in one image. So all the information that we need, regardless of if we use transport trays or not, we have through this one image of a parcel. And since we take all these images of all the parcels anyway, we have a very good starting point from a data perspective. What we need to refine is, first of all, the algorithm that does it, and then the infrastructure that we have to build to actually steer the sorting process in the parcel sorting center, because this has to happen very quickly. We only have a few not even seconds, below 1 second to make this decision. So it's not so easy to send all the images to a central AI cloud. We have to do kind of edge computing in the parcel sorting centers. So that leads me to the technical backbone of the project. First of all, the algorithm. Of course, the huge and rapid advancement due to deep learning in the visual AI field are mostly due to large tech companies putting huge sums and huge number of resources into this field, and also a lot of universities working on it. But none of the really successful algorithms was developed by 2 or 3 people who worked for it maybe a few months. It's always a huge undertaking, and it's an undertaking that we as a logistics company can't do on our own. So our approach to this type of problem, not only in this use case, but basically all the AI use cases we tackle, is we look at the challenges of our problem in a very abstract way, and then try to find different but very active scientific fields where similar abstract challenges have been solved, and then just take the open source algorithm, modify them to fit our data, and drive the work. And that is what we've done right here. The algorithm that we use was actually developed for autonomous driving, but the key challenges on an abstract level are very similar. So we want to detect objects and we want to classify them. We have to deal with partially covered objects. The precise detection of the object's border is very important for us because we want to measure the size of the parcel. In autonomous driving, because you don't want to hit the car in front of you. And we have to do all this in real time and for high resolution images. So all the key challenges are basically aligned between autonomous driving and our parcel sorting center problem. Therefore, we took one of the newer algorithms. Newer was back in 2019 when we started the project. And we modified it, and it basically worked right from the start, at least in the sense that we saw it has the potential to give very exact measurements. We then worked a lot on data collection, because as you see in the middle here, you have to have training data that has all these objects and the border of the objects painted in very precisely, and you have to do this with a few thousand or 10,000 images. So it took a while to actually find a company in Germany that could do that for us. There are, of course, some very large global companies, especially for this data annotation. But since we are a German company and we are dealing with post and parcels, we have very strict rules regarding the data governance and data protection. So we can't, for instance, the data is not allowed to leave Germany, which makes it quite difficult for most of these global data annotation companies. The workforce has to be completely stationed in Germany. So all this constraints made it a bit difficult to actually find someone who can do this for us. But right now we have found 2 companies, and we're very satisfied with them. And we have enough data for the first results and to run the algorithm in a pilot center. Which brings me to the technical backbone for the production. That is the installation of local high performance clusters. And this is the part where we shift from AI to IoT. IoT not in the sense like Steffen mentioned for Bosch, where we have connected all the different data sources or the sensors to an AI cloud. But rather we have these, our sensors are the cameras at the sorting center. But due to the time constraint, we actually build up a high performance computing server in each of the parcel sorting centers, and then route the images directly to this local server. But of course, the algorithm should be developed centrally. And then you have this interesting landscape. How do you deploy the centrally developed algorithm to all these locally different edge computing servers, who in turn are connected to various cameras, not always from the same brand, different backgrounds, different lighting, and so on. So you have a very diverse field of image data that is coming in. Also, sometimes diverse fields of IT infrastructure between your parcel sorting centers, and the wishful thinking to basically manage everything from a central instance and with a mostly convenient deployment process. So the idea how to do that is to build a platform on top of all this hardware infrastructure based on Docker and Kubernetes, where we can deploy from a central Docker image store all the algorithms or variants of the algorithms that we want, and then use the tools Kubernetes gives us for monitoring and logging to actually try to keep up with our landscape if everything works fluidly, not only in one parcel sorting center, but for each camera in each of the parcel sorting centers. That is, I think, the crucial step is that you have to somehow manage the complexity. If you try to manually monitor the algorithm for each of the cameras or also each of the parcel sorting center on its own, it's just too much. You will be overwhelmed by complexity. So building this platform first and then thinking about AI as a microservice, which is a container application that just runs on the platform, is hopefully the right way to go. And so far, we have just connected one parcel sorting center. The second will follow next week. But the one we've connected, it works very well. And it's very promising that we can scale it up for the complete rollout during the next 2 months. So the other thing that is really important for these AIoT use cases, and in my experience is often overlooked, especially in large traditional companies who didn't have much contact to AI, is basically the DevOps cycle. It changes a bit if you look at classic software development versus software development with an AI component, and then even more if you look at the combination of AI and IoT. And the reason for that is, like I mentioned in the platform topic, is just the additional complexity. You don't just have to manage your software code. You also have to look at the AI model. And if you have a lot of edge computing systems, you may even have different AI models. It may very well be that you need a different algorithm for a different type of parcel sorting center. So you have to keep an eye on all these models, and of course on all the infrastructure that you use in this local service. And we basically tackled this problem early on, or tried to tackle it when talking to management, but it took a while to really convince them that it's really important to not only roll it out and then let it run, but especially for these AI models that you have to have constant monitoring, quality assurance phases, retrainings of your models, and that you have to think about it from the start, not when you have rolled everything out and then you try to look, oh, maybe we should take a look at this camera or that camera. It won't work. You have to really think it through from the beginning. Otherwise, the complexity just explode in this product space of AI and IoT. So just one quick minute, the lessons learned is start small, think big. It's a bit of generic statement, but what I mean by this is, of course, we tried with one parcel sorting center, and even before that, we tried it locally, just on our desk with a small camera, if everything works. But it was really important to try to think about, especially this DevOps cycle early on, how it should look like if everything is rolled out in full scale. So that when you try the things in small scale, you think about the right, you're drawing the right conclusions. What do you really need in the end when everything is rolled out? And then all of the other aspects just can be summarized under the point manage complexity. You want to homogenization of your edge landscape with the platform. You want to decouple basically AI and traditional software development as far as possible, so that you have at least a chance to retrain an AI algorithm and deploy it without touching the software code itself. And you want to plan for the continuous DevOps cycles, and also that includes data labeling, which maybe is not such a problem if you don't have this personal data and postal data. But it was really important to plan for that ahead, and it, at least in our company, it took a lot of time and a lot of convincing that that's an important point. So I would say that maybe you should even start with this before you start programming, start talking to the management and decision makers, that everything is on board, everyone is on board, that you need these constant and continuous quality assurance cycles. thank you very much. I think we are out of time for questions, Stefan, right?
Right, Michael, thanks for the presentation. It was really interesting. Well, I mean, we can maybe spend like another minute on questions since you have to leave on time, you said at the beginning. So really quick answer from your side, please. So we have one question from Sidao. What connectivity do you use, 4G or some local network?
So we use between the cameras and the local computing servers, it's just a local gigabit network. And between the parcel sorting centers and the central staging systems, these are just normal DSL connection, unfortunately, because they are not fast enough to transfer all the images, but they are okay for logging and deploying some Docker containers.
Okay, sounds good. For the remaining question from Fermin Fernandez, I think we will need to take them in the end or after the presentation, because as you said, we are a little bit behind in time. But I would like to thank you again, Michael, for giving this interesting insights. And I also saw the AIoT user group DevOps cycle here already.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the perfect transition to our next speaker. And I would like to welcome Dirk Slama, who will talk about the AIoT user group. Dirk, the stage is yours.
Excellent, thank you. And I don't want to say, Michael, it's all your fault, but I'm just remembering, when we started our discussions pre-Corona early last year. So I will present to you now what came out of this. And for this, I will share my screen. Just one second. I hope that's working. Stefan, can you confirm? Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's loading. Yes, I can see it. Go ahead.
Excellent. So AIoT user group. This all, as I just mentioned, really started early last year when a bunch of people from actually different companies and different industries spent 3 days together at the Connectory in Stuttgart to basically exchange what they had learned about the combination of AI and IoT. And I think at the time we didn't have actually a name for it. This actually came out of it. And we exchanged experiences. We started talking about good practices, like the recommendations that Michael just shared. And after these 3 days, we were so enthused that we said, okay, let's make this a regular thing. And over time, actually, the AIoT user group came out of it. So the idea really is to look at use cases, look at best practices for combination of AI and IoT. And by this, we actually mean real AI and real IoT. Some people say AI is for PowerPoint and ML is for Python. So we mean the real AI here, because what we see in IoT, there was a lot of talk about predictive, preventive, prescriptive, what have you kind of maintenance, and not every project really did it. So that's really what we wanted to look at. We wanted to look at this across multiple industries, across multiple use cases. So we've been looking at manufacturing, smart home. We have one awesome drone case for building inspection, automotive, obviously, robotics, energy, and so on. And as I said, really look at what can the combination of AI/ML and IoT bring in these different industries. So this AIoT user group really step by step developed over the last year and a half. The purpose really is to help advancing AIoT. We have a couple of principles. So this is non-profit. Everybody can participate. Everything we produce as content is open source. And the goal really is to focus on pragmatic solutions so that people can join us and get feedback on their own AIoT strategy if they're already that advanced, or help them kickstarting it. The way how we're doing this at the moment, we have 3 main deliverables. One is the so-called AIoT Playbook, and the last slide from Michael actually came straight out of the Playbook, the AIoT DevOps cycle. We run regular unplugged sessions where we work together on our content, and we have started getting into co-creation projects. So the Playbook itself, it's all online. You can just go to aotplaybook.org. You will find the complete playbook. I would say it's at the moment maybe 80% finished of the 1.0 version. And the goal really is to, in this playbook, bring together good practices, as far as you can say, good practices in something that's still as early as what we're talking about here. And basically use this to help practitioners manage their own risks and project costs when they're embarking on AIoT projects. And as I said, it's all available as open source. We have started working on trainings. I'll talk about this in a minute. But here is the playbook in the overview. So what we've learned is it's really key to bring together the high-level business strategy side with the business execution side and the technical execution side. So obviously, that's a little bit different depending on your role, whether you're more looking at this from a product, so the digital OEM perspective, or more from the digital equipment operator perspective, like I would say what Michael was just presenting, for example. So business execution, what can we learn, for example, in terms of co-creation? How is sourcing different? Michael was talking about, finding a supplier for data labeling services in Germany. So this is new. So how do you set up when you build up your project from a sourcing point of view? How do you operate this? And then also on the technical execution side, so Michael was just focusing on the AIoT DevOps, but it really starts with the product or solution design, your data strategy, and then how do you actually combine agile best practices with more traditional project management in those areas where agile is not going to fly, for example, in the area of hardware development, or for example, when you have heavy ties to enterprise type of sourcing processes, these type of things, right? So go check it out. If you like it, let us know. If you don't like it, also let us know. We're also always keen to get feedback. We have the fortune to work together with a number of high caliber experts like Sebastian Troon, really bright guy. He actually won the DARPA Grand Challenge 15 years ago, the first autonomous vehicle driving a complex and long parkour through the Death Valley before he then ventured onto Google and later Udacity, who we're working with in this context as well. In terms of trainings, we are developing the AIoT Executives and the AIoT Masterclass. So again, if this is something you're interested, do let us know. Also, co-creation, really important because in a lot of cases, it will be very difficult to do all of this alone. So the question is, are we talking about a more traditional, I'm a buyer, I go onto a shopping spree, I set up a sourcing project, for example, to find a data labeling company and so on, or are we talking about a real co-creation type of thing? And I think Stefan will talk more about this later on. Obviously, the Bosch Connectories are an excellent platform for this. But the question is, why should you actually co-create rather than just, acquire all the different things that you need? Number of different reasons. So on the business side, it can be, for example, two companies working together because they want to combine their brands or their global reach, or for example, physical assets or outlets. So this is more the IoT side of things, or specific domain know-how and applications. Then, of course, on the data side of things, if companies collaborate here, how can data from different domains combined actually create synergies? And then obviously on the more technical side of things. So again, I don't want to overstress this, but Michael was talking about, for example, how DHL Deutsche Post was learning from the folks working on autonomous driving for their algorithms and so on. Yeah, so there's a whole area, and it's not black and white. Sometimes a project will also be a combination of more traditional procurement and co-creation. We have started looking at the co-creation process and started to again derive some best practices specifically for an AIoT related sourcing project. So obviously starting earlier on with the question, do you actually want to make or buy or co-create? Yeah. Depending on, for example, your data needs, your AI algo needs, and so on. Yeah. Then, of course, it's cyclic, so from ideation to prototyping, involving anything that's involved in an AIoT business model, and then technology, piloting, productization, legal, commercial, all the good things that you need before you can start scaling up and going to market. And there is two formats at the moment that we think make a lot of sense. One is a more traditional test bed type of approach where co-creation partners come together. Typically, in this case, you already know the people you want to co-create with, or the challenge format, which is more really like a competition, typically starting with a small number of people who say, okay, let's do this together. We know the result that we want, but we don't know the way there. For example, we're lacking a brilliant algorithm, or we don't have the sensors for what we want to do, etc. So in this case, the challenge format can be interesting to then engage with startups and say, okay, can you help us basically finding a good solution for what we want here, from technology to business model and so on. Okay? So again, if this is of interest to you, come to us. I think Steffen would be happy to talk to you how we can support this in the context of the connectories. We have started building up a global network. This is still early stages. This is very much grassroots driven. Yeah, so it's not commercial. It's basically people who say, AIoT, yeah, this is going to be super important for us the next couple of years. So we started out of Germany. We had a lot of activity initially in Asia, out of Singapore and China, and actually also the collaboration with the AIoT group in Canada and USA. And so actually on this photo, Michael, I don't know if you recognize yourself. I think it's you there in the middle. Yeah, I can see also Ralf von Deutsche Post. I can see Steffen and yeah, many other people. So this is the inaugural session in the Stuttgart Connectory that I was talking about that really kickstarted all of this. And then due to Corona, for example, what we're doing here at the moment in Singapore was more virtual. And then just recently, really interested companies and universities teaming up in China as well to kick off the AIoT user group in Shanghai. And yeah, I think today actually could be a great opportunity to see who could be interested in this kind of collaboration, specifically around AIoT from a Latin America point of view. So if this is of interest to you, go check it out, www.aiot.rocks, yeah, or just contact us through the normal channels if you want to be engaged. Steffen, I hope that was 15 minutes on the dot, I think. So with this, thank you. And I don't know if you want to allow for questions, Stefan.
Perfect. Thank you, Dirk, so much for the nice introduction. And yeah, also on a personal note, I can really recommend the AIoT framework and the wiki that Dirk mentioned. There's a really nice website behind this where you can really slice and dice through the different elements. So I think this is really helpful to get started, and it's open source. So that's really great. Okay, looking at the chat, I don't see any immediate questions here right now. So yeah, the link is there for the AIoT user group. Exactly, check it out. So with this, I want to thank you, Dirk, for this introduction. And then we'll hand over to Marcos, who will talk about the AIoT startup domain. Marcos, the stage is yours.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Stephen. Guys, first of all, thanks Curitiba Connectory, Bosch, for an invitation. I think Mark is here, so special him, Marco Knaben. I think I can say the name of Hart's team that you guys from Connector are a special player, partner in promoting IoT framework with our portfolio startup. So we are glad we have very close to our operations, and I think that lasts for many years. So it's also great to be part of this event with also extraordinary professionals in a segment that I specifically love so much. 10 years developing, constructing, and building startups from scratch, all of them working with IoT framework. So let's go. Let's talk a little bit about HARDS and how we are connecting investment, corporates, and also startups in Latin America. So let me share a little bit what I plan to. So let's go. Stephen, can I have 10 minutes? I think.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I'll try to be a little bit shorter in my time. So guys, what is HARDS and what our role specifically in the Latin America ecosystem to connect corporates, startups that are building great products with great teams, specifically in the IoT segment, industry, logistics, energy, everything that connects hardware and software. So we present ourselves as the first accelerator of hardware and software startups in Brazil. We are based in Santa Catarina, Florianópolis. So if you want to grab a beer by the sea or have some parties in Jurerê International, that's the best place to be. It's like 5 minutes from our headquarters. And we are also a spin-off of Fundação Certis, Ventures, and of course, mainly from Darwin Startups, elected the last 3 years the best accelerator program in Brazil. And that's how we present and how we position ourselves. Like we connect corporations, investments, startups. We build ecosystems so good entrepreneurs with good solutions in the IoT segment can have less barriers to grow their business. That's our objective. That's our main goal here. So how we do that? How do we invest in AIoT early stage startups? So what's the difference between Europe, United States, and Brazil? In Brazil, of course, we have this lack of technology in our industry cluster, and also in our agriculture cluster. So it's a great opportunity for new business, for developing new products, specific products that are more customized to our needs here in Latin America. So we used to say that HARDS, we do not create anything. We just put these 4 circles in the same room and present the idea of how HARDS can work, specifically how startups in our ecosystem can grow faster, can go to market with less barriers and with less investment and more help with the players in our ecosystem. Of course, Connectory from Curitiba have a special place on it because they have already helped a lot of, I think, 1 or 2 companies in our portfolio. So how we do that? We connect innovation grants. I think you have a lot of them in the United States. I think Startup Harbor start with an innovation grant from Berlin, something like that. that I heard from Knaben. And we also know how to work with this innovation grants specifically from the industry sector. So we also have a pool of angel investors and corporations that aims to invest in the industry of the future, not as suppliers, not our actual partners at this right moment. They are thinking about the challenges that our industry, specifically in Latin America, will have in 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 years in front of us. So, of course, we need global suppliers, manufacturers. That's why we are building a huge network with partners, contract manufacturers, and of course, plenty of suppliers from electronic components that can help our ecosystem, specifically our startups in these challenges. And in Brazil, we have a lot of technology partners in our building. We have 2 institutes of technology that help our startups, specifically in the first stage of development, to go to the MVP, to the first batch of production, and also infrastructure that helps our portfolio companies to build their first prototypes, the function prototyping, of course, the specifications for the first batch of productions, all of it in one building at the place that we are today. We always say, different from the software ecosystem, hardware ecosystems, they build to last, and of course they are hard to build also. So we also like to present for you guys just a time frame that shows that nothing happened last year or maybe 2-3 years ago. It all began in 1984 with a foundation like Sortation that in our university helped a lot of entrepreneurs, specifically in the industry sector. We have Synapse de Inovação. It's also one innovation grant that's well known in Brazil. Now it's called Centelha. It's all over the place in Brazil that help with a small amount of money, but helps most of the entrepreneurs in Brazil have resources to build the first prototype, the first MVP. And of course, we have produced, it's like a small contract manufacturer and venture small fund that invests in a lot of IoT companies. And they were there so we can exist today. So we always like to show the ecosystem that make it hard. And what hards are doing different? So it's like disproportional in Brazil, the number of software accelerators. So we used to say that in each corner of São Paulo, you have acceleration program that invests in software, that invests in fintechs, insurtechs, big data. But the industry sector are so not well. How can I say? It's proportional that we must have more protagonism in our segment. So that's why we are the first seed stage fund to invest in health techs, IoT wearables, logistics retail, smart cities, energy, ag tech. That's our case, that's our thesis. And we are investing after, I think, 2 years of research. We saw the gaps in the Latin American segments so that we can invest in segments that we know that at least we have a political barrier, taxes barrier, or we have a complex type of products that probably part of them is going to be imported from other countries, but is more likely to build them in our ecosystem, in our continent. So that's kind of the IoT thesis that we built 2 years ago that we are implementing now, specifically with the startups that we're investing now. So of course we are not together. We have this association, this federation's DNA. So our startups, they all make business in our industry federations. They want to show that all the industries that associate to this ecosystem that they can of course bring some kind of performance to the industry and also can reduce some costs, daily costs for the production and stuff like that. So one of the things that we are different, we are accelerated program without any managers, any economists, any people that are not well familiar to the IoT or or the manufacturing system. So most of the guys that work with Hearts now, they are serial entrepreneurs. They are entrepreneurs that brought companies from scratch to NASDAQ, and also that have some exit in their track record. So we are building this IoT ecosystem systems to entrepreneurs in Latin America to work better, faster, and cheaper. In the first floor of this nice building in the Sapiens Park in the north of the island of Florianopolis, we have all the infrastructure that they will need to produce their first batch, their first prototypes. We have a lot of laser cutting, 3D printers, and all the stuff that you need to build your first prototypes. And of course, in our basement, we have this SMB production for small and of course medium PCB productions. Is a contract manufacturer part of Hearts. They are called Produza, and we are part of this Lab Faber. It's like a laboratory for manufacturing for small batches, specific, of course, for large companies, enterprise. But in other words, how can I say that? Startups love small batches. That's how they start, and that's how we are building this partnership with our ecosystem, with our building. So our startups, they don't even need to go out of the building to produce their first batches. That's one of the benefits that we have in Hearts program. So where we're locating, in the mini Shenzhen, in the Silicon Valley of Brazil, we call the Silicon Island. That's Florianopolis. Most of the reports here in Brazil, they say that we are the fast growing technology ecosystem. So you're all welcome. If you want to go to Brazil, just let me know. We can, of course, take you to Hearts and all over the island. Some nice place. We have great nature, of course. And our framework is a codified methodology, it's a proprietary methodology that we call the factory, that help us connect with great companies, large companies, and show them the benefits to connect with startups in terms of cross-selling, upselling, revenue sharing, or to create some kind of path to M&A, something like that. So the industry is like the last economy, so the old economy that we prefer to say here in Brazil. And one of the things that we do is to show the industry the benefits to connect to startups that are faster, better, and can be their research and development departments in some kind of way, working as a third party here in our ecosystem. So we have great results. Our group, Darwin Startups, some with Hearts, I think we passed 80 portfolio startups. In terms of IoT startups, I think more than 15 that we have right now, and some numbers that we have built in the last 6 years of programs that we're building right now. We also have a retail program for digital, the retail segment here in Brazil, that we also have great partners and great investors working with us. So if you want to know a little bit more about our portfolio, our IoT companies that work in the health tech field, IoT, logistics, and everything that you want to know, just let me know. Just let's connect, and we can talk a little bit more specific the partnership that we have with you guys here, that we are really glad to say that's really making the difference in our startups path. Okay, that's it, guys. If you want to connect, just send me an email, connect me in LinkedIn, and we can talk a little bit about investment, seed investment in Latin America. It's just the first check. It's nothing big, but at least the first step, so we can start making difference and make impact in the IoT segment in Latin America. Okay, that's it, Stefan. It's really, I promise you so.
Thank you, Marcos. Great insights. I really like your presentation. Also great to see that you're, let's say, supporting startups really from all angles, also with innovation grants and corporate partnership contacts and so on. So we don't have any questions yet in the chat. I encourage everybody who is watching the stream, please leave your questions in the comment. In the meantime, I actually have a question for you. So I would be interested in how are you working with corporates? How are you connecting them to startups? So do you work like from the point of that you have search fields, so that corporate partners provide search fields to you and you match them based on the search fields? Or do you rather, let's say, approach the corporates with the startups in your portfolio? How do you do the matching that corporates and startups find together efficiently?
Great question, Stephen. First of all, the corporates that are more connected with hearts, they are our investors. So they are seeing their industry from 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So they build the thesis of the investment with us. So that's one of the difference in the hard thesis. We built the segments that we're going to invest with our investors that are industry. Most of them are large industries here in São Paulo, Florianópolis, Santa Catarina. So, and in the second phase, of course, we build a network of industry that share a little bit of their challenges with us. So it's more easy to connect startups that we invest with their daily challenges. So we have the second stage, and of course the third stage. We have a lot of partnerships, as I present today, with industries federations, with associations that owns a lot of industries in our segments, in our states, so they can be business hubs for our startups. So it's more easy to scale, it's more easy to close deals. So that's the three phases, like as we prefer to say, that we connect with the industries. First, the investments. We build small, like I said, mini corporate ventures, multi-corporate ventures with industries that somehow they connect, they can have relations with each other. And in the second stage, just the matchmaking. So partners like you guys, so you help a lot of startups in our portfolio with your IoT framework. So that makes them go faster to the market and also have a better quality, a world-class product. And also the third one is just connecting with hubs, industry hubs. That's better for our companies, invested companies.
Nice. So the power is in the ecosystem, so to say.
It's always there.
The right partners. Yeah. Okay, there's one question from Jeff. What is necessary to boost the Brazilian ecosystem for tech startups?
We are trying to do that, Jeff. So, of course, well, I think we spent more than 3 years just understanding what are the barriers. How can Hearts do it faster? How can Hearts help entrepreneurs in this segment? How we can help them not fail? So, of course, the infrastructure, of course, the first check, of course, great partners, of course, a great ecosystem, associations, business hubs, so you can close deals faster, so you cannot die in the next 6 or 8 months. That what usually happens to hardware startups in Brazil. You need innovation grants, you need partnership with technology foundations, you need partnership with universities, and that is what Hearts does during the acceleration program. We somehow we build some pillars that make it more easier to you, specifically in the first years of the company, so you can go faster, grow with sustainability, specifically financial sustainability. So I don't know, that is the, how can I say, the answer for boost American ecosystem, but Hearts doing a small part of it. So if we have 10, maybe 20 Hearts in our country, it's been more easy to boost the hardware tech ecosystem here in Brazil.
Right. I think that holds true for many ecosystem, right? The more partners you have, the better you can boost these tech startups and the corporations and eventually POCs between startups and corporates.
Yeah, great.
Right. Okay, so I have one last question to give the audience time to ask maybe more questions. So what do you regard as one of the most important sources of innovation for companies in the future? So I give you some, or you can answer directly, or I give you some hints. So I know some studies, and I would be interested in you if you confirm these studies, or if you have a different picture. So of course, there's many sources for innovation today. For example, R&D departments, the crowd, startups, university partnerships, and so on. So what do you think is the most important source of innovation in the next 5 years from now? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. I really believe that startups will make this path shorter and faster, and I will not say cheaper, but in a better way. I've been working in an R&D department from a multinational. I know how things work. I know what's the bureaucracy to present new ideas and new products when you are in an enterprise, when you are in an industry. So this partnership with industry, this partnership with startups that grow faster, grow in universities, in technology hubs, in co-workings, in hards maybe. Also, that will make the difference in a short, maybe in a medium, in large terms. So I really believe the startup ecosystem will change the face that the industry that we see right now. So of course, I do believe that R&D departments will make their part, and of course universities, but all of them together, we can make this faster. We can make this work in a better way that we can see short-term results. That's why we are connecting everybody. Just like you saw, we are not doing anything proprietary. We're just connecting the parts, connecting the dots, and putting everybody in the same table to negotiate to go really to the next step.
Nice. Yeah, I think also this is what the studies confirm. I mean, the question was a little bit biased, of course, after this talk. But yes, so the crowd and also startups serve as an important source of innovation in the future, right? As you say, because it's also maybe more efficient and cheaper. But of course, R&D departments, of course, stay relevant for sure. Okay, so Jeff is asking another question. I think going back to the Brazilian ecosystem topic, what about global connections? What's the importance for boosting the Brazilian ecosystem?
We have a lot of global connections. We have manufacturing partners in the southeast of Asia and east of Europe. But I think I'm going to answer a different way the last question, Stephen. We do really believe in the decentralization of the industry. So we don't think specific from the horrible things that we saw in the last 2 years with this pandemic, that we really do not need concentrate industry clusters. That's not good for health. That's not good from any country autonomy. So I think we'll be more decentralized. I think we'll be more small batches, more customized products, and less mass production products. That would be more healthy for everyone. That's the new global connections. Today, we are totally dependent from small clusters all over the world that are producing specific products. I think that will not happen in the next 5, maybe 10 years. That would be specific for some, I don't know, materials that we have in specific continents, okay, but the manufacturing, the assembly of high-value products, they will be totally decentralization. So yes, we have global connections. Yes, Jeff, we have also great international investors that are connecting to startups to take them to the next level. And of course, components, parts, specific kind of manufacturing process. So just come to heart. I think most of our partners are in our website, so you can check that. Of course, better and more is better, and we are building these ecosystems for you guys, for entrepreneurs that really want to impact the industry 4.0.
Nicely said. And of course, also the Connectory network is a global one, right? So you can also work with us and use like the connections to Chicago, Guadalajara, Stuttgart, Shanghai, and so on. Nice. Okay, one more question from Fermin. Which startup from your program are you most proud of, and why? Or more proud of?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I love them all. They are in my heart. So, how can I say? We have a lot of impact startups. So let's, how can I say that? I will talk about the only startup that are a pre-operational one. So they are not making any revenue right now. They're going to launch the product, so I can talk because they're only one in the specific stage. That's fast hard diagnosis. So they are really preventing people to die. So I like them because they are impacting the society. So they are they can prevent heart disease, heart attacks in like less than 10 minutes. So that's going to be a huge impact in the health ecosystem. We don't have anything related or similar on global basis. So it's a proprietary technology, it's a patent technology, it's one of the research and the master thesis that one of the founders developed in the last 3 years. So I'm really glad they are in our portfolio. And the other thing is that we gave them a lot of resources, benefits. We help them so they can brought a lot of innovation grants to the operations because they are really they have really expensive tasks, infrastructure, products. They have a bunch of tasks that they need to do, and of course they use hard infrastructure to build the first prototype. So the first prototype it was all built in our infrastructure. That was really good to us to say in the first batch, oh man, this prototype was totally built in our infrastructure, in our headquarters. So we are really proud of them. They're called core.sync. It's a great company. So if it's not the best company in our portfolio, but it's one of the companies that we are glad that we invest in the seed stage and we are helping them go to the next stage. They're going to launch their product now. So they also have a lot of clients, hospitals, and health plans that are talking with them right now.
Nice. Thank you. You're boosting their visibility also with this event. So I guess you like that. Marcus, thank you very much for these great insights and nice discussion here and the Q&A. I would like to wrap it up now. I would like to thank you, all the participants joining live on YouTube, all the speakers. Part of them have already left because they had to jump to other meetings. Before we close down, I would like to invite everybody participating here to take the survey, the closing survey here on SurveyMonkey. Either you click the link that you can see in the comments, or you pull out your smartphone and scan this QR code. And please tell us what you like about this event, what you want us to improve, how you feel about this, and yeah, really happy to learn about your comments and your feedback, because I think that's essential part of the DNA of the Connectory to improve and provide value to the ecosystem and to everybody involved. On a final note, I would also like to thank everybody working on this event backstage. Also Emily Stahl, Marco Knabben, everybody was not in the picture here yet. Great to have you also to support this event and to make this happen. And yeah, I would like to thank everybody and wrap it up now. Thank you.